Hello everybody, welcome to Get Ready With Me and Talk About Stuff. My name is Stephanie, and today's topic is going to be something I think is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to try to keep everything light and low-key today. We'll see how that goes. How have the last couple weeks been? I haven't done a video in a couple weeks just because life happens, as life tends to do. But how have you been? I hope things have been going well for you. Things here are great. Life just happens. So, I just wanted to mention in the description box, I did list a link for my Etsy shop. I have been adding new things. I'm doing paintings right now featuring anchors. If you're curious as to what that's all about, just go to the link and you can find out for yourself. I'm going to do my last anchor painting today, and then I'm moving on to a commission, and then I'll be doing some other things. But that is all I have to say about that. So today's topic is lipstick. And you're probably wondering why in the world I would choose to talk about lipstick. Well, we're going to be specifically talking about red lipstick. And the reason I chose lipstick in general is because I personally own probably, oh my goodness, 100 lipsticks. Between lip glosses and lipsticks, probably 100, and they're all different, and they all serve a purpose. I bought them for reasons. I'm not going to say they're always good reasons, but I bought them for reasons, and you know, I have a lot of lipstick. So I thought, well, first I got curious about the history of lipstick, and then I was like, but you know what I really love to wear is red lipstick. So then I thought, I'm going to look into the history of red lipstick and see what I can find. And some of it is rather interesting. So Audrey Hepburn has said, there is a shade of red for every woman, and darned if it ain't so. If you're somebody who wears red lipstick, you know what I'm talking about. So, where did all of this get a start? First of all, let me get myself situated here. Okay, so based on cosmetic cases found in archaeological digs in ancient Samaria, ancient Sumerians are usually the ones credited with developing cosmetics in general, and specifically red lipstick. And what they would do is they would take rocks and crush them up, and then they would use that powdery substance to add color to their face. Cleopatra was known to wear red lipstick, and during her time, red lipstick was made by, and this is fun, was made by crushing insects and mixing it with oils and waxes and then putting that on her lips. I mean, that is like commitment. That is when you really just have to have red lipstick, even if it means putting dead bugs on your lips. I can't say that I'd ever be that committed to red lipstick, but who knows? If someday red lipstick were to become a thing that is no longer made by large cosmetics companies, I might consider it, because I love me a good red lipstick. Don't know how I feel about the bugs being in it, but whatever. So, in ancient Greece, prostitutes were required by law to wear red lipstick, lest they be confused with a respectable lady. No, you are not allowed to pretend to be a respectable woman if you're actually a prostitute, was their thinking. You know, we can't have people be confused. People need to know their place in society. Now, at this time, red lipstick was made from a combination of red dye, sheep sweat, and crocodile droppings. It kind of makes the crushed bugs seem a lot more palatable than putting that on your face. The history of cosmetics itself, and maybe someday I'll do a video about this, but it is troublesome, to say the least. And some of the concoctions people used to create cosmetics were odd. But that, I mean, crocodile droppings, never would I ever have thought that cosmetics could be made out of crocodile droppings. It just never would have occurred to me. Like, who thought of that? That just occurred to me. Who thought of that? who's like, I'm going to take these crocodile droppings, I'm going to mix it up with some sheep sweat, and then I'm going to mix that with some wax. And we're going to see if this becomes something I can put on my face. So please hold. I will get right to you after I'm done putting these crocodile droppings on my face. I mean, who thought of that? I have no idea. But speaking of cosmetics and weird practices related to them, in the 16th century, Queen Elizabeth gave red lipstick a measure of respectability when it became part of her signature look. Her signature look was to have a very pale face, and she wore white makeup on top of her already very fair skin. And then she would add a pop of color in there by wearing red lipstick. Now at that time, red lipstick was made from beeswax and red plant dyes, and it was only worn by upper class women. So at this time, red lipstick, or cosmetics of any kind really, it was very classist. If you were not an upper class woman, you get that stuff off your face. It's not for you. It's only for women of means. So, side note, Queen Elizabeth's skin was so fair because of the cosmetics she wore, but not because they were, she wore the white paint. She wore the white paint, I believe, from what I've read, and I could be just remembering things incorrectly, but I believe that her skin was so fair due to the wearing of the makeup. It was actually like harming her skin to such a degree that it was losing pigment. And I'm trying to remember what it was that she was using. I believe there was a lot of lead in her face makeup. I vaguely remember hearing that. So she had a lot of lead in her face makeup, and she was putting that on her face regularly, and that was why she looked so very, very pale. Apparently this was a look she really enjoyed though. So, that's kind of what as far as her appearance goes, that's what she is remembered for, is the very pale skin and the very red lips. Now, moving on. Now, I had trouble finding what happened between Queen Elizabeth wearing the red lipstick and it getting a measure of respectability, at least among upper class women, and what happens next. Now, by 1700, red lipstick was once again maligned, and it was said that it was related to witchcraft. In fact, it was said that women would wear lipstick as a means to seduce men into marrying them. And this was so fervently believed that if it was found that a woman was wearing lipstick during the courtship with the man that she ended up marrying, that marriage could be annulled. That is how powerful the belief was that lipstick and witchcraft are basically the same thing. And could you imagine, like, if say you married somebody and you realized, oh my gosh, I've made a terrible mistake, and you realize this is not something I want to keep doing. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pause this for a second because my son is trying to tell me something, and then I'll come back and finish my thought. Okay, so I'm back. So if you were in a marriage if you were a man, you were in a marriage that you decided it just was not cool with you to be in this situation whatsoever, all you had to do was say that she wore lipstick during your courtship and therefore used witchcraft to seduce you into marrying her, and what do you know, you can get out of that marriage. It's just a little bit crazy to me that happened, but it did indeed happen. And I don't have my blush that I normally wear, so I'm going to have to try something different. Now, again, there's another shift. So we went from lipstick. Red lipstick was something that was worn by the ancient Sumerians, based on cosmetics cases that have been found in archaeological digs. So we went from that to, okay, this stuff is only good enough for prostitutes. And then went from that to, nope, the queen's wearing it, so it must be okay. Then back to, no, this is not a respectable thing. And if your wife was wearing lipstick during your courtship, guess what? We'll go ahead and pretend this marriage never happened. Well, then we go back to a measure of respectability. So in the late 1800s, cosmetics once again became fashionable and more socially acceptable. And by the 1890s, Sears Roebuck was offering tint for the lips and the cheeks in their catalogs, so women could just order their makeup and have it delivered to their house. It was like BoxyCharm back in the 1890s, something along those lines. So again, it's got a measure of respectability. By 1910, lipstick was available in a tube. So we had a major shift there, going from this is terrible, or this is great, let's have fun with it and put it on our faces, to this is terrible, to this is okay, back to this is terrible. And now people are finding ways to make red lipstick not only available for home delivery, but now they're putting it in a tube so that women can actually carry their lipstick around with them and apply it and reapply it on the go. Which is what brings us to, in 1912, so it became, red lipstick became like it was like having the mobility offered by putting it in a tube became sort of almost like a power move. It's like, and having never, well, I have used lipsticks not in a tube, and I absolutely hated them, and I could see why somebody would not want to use lipsticks that come in a palette. I prefer them in a tube. So once women had the option of taking this lipstick and tucking it into their non-existent pockets, did they have pockets in their dresses back then? I really hope so. But taking it with them so that they could reapply as needed on the go, it became a symbol of empowerment and independence. So much so that it was adopted, red lipstick was adopted as the signature color of the suffragettes. Now, to that end, cosmetics giant Elizabeth Arden was giving away free tubes of red lipstick to the suffragettes, who apparently, in the course of like their marches that they did, they would be passing right by the Elizabeth Arden, I don't know if it was the store or the factory, but they'd be going right by there. So excellent marketing ploy on the part of Elizabeth Arden. And also it gave a whole lot of women the opportunity to make a statement by applying red lipstick in public, which was just unheard of. And apparently a lot of men were just horrified by this, just could not believe that not only were these women wearing red lipstick, but they were applying it in public in front of men, and how very dare they. Now, I think it's worth noting that the suffragette it was primarily a movement for white women. And the reason that's worth noting here is because back at that time, most depictions of black women were incredibly hypersexualized, and one of the common features in like drawings of black women were very large red lips. So I just wondered, had they allowed black women to have an equal stake in the suffrage movement, would the red lips still have been the signature color of the suffragettes? And we might never know the answer to that. But it just adds an interesting dynamic to the conversation, because red lips meant very different things to white women than they did to black women at the time. Now, today, and we're going to jump forward and then go back. Today, in at least one article I read, a black woman stated that one of the reasons she likes to wear red lipstick is because it changes the narrative around women and black women and red lips. So I think that just adds another interesting discussion point to the conversation, and I think also illustrates that, you know, one's experience with a thing is going to give them a very different perspective than someone else would have. Now we're going to go back in time. So by the 1920s, red lipstick had become not only a symbol of power in general, but also one of sexuality, and having a deep red lip or deep red lip color was actually the preferred lip color for the flappers of the 1920s. And I'm sure that you've seen pictures of the flappers, but if not, I'll just put this one up for you so you can have a look. But the flappers were perceived as women who were very sure of themselves, very free, unabashed about their sexuality, you know, just really taking advantage of everything good about the Roaring Twenties. And they did not care what anyone thought of what they were doing. They were there to just fully embrace themselves just as they are and kind of do this, you know, like living out loud kind of thing. And they did put that, at least in part, by applying red lipstick. So the sexual connotations, though, of the red lipstick made it rather off limits for young girls. Young, you know, teenage girls, then as today, would have arguments with their parents about wearing makeup because the connotation was that if you were wearing makeup, particularly red lipstick, you were seen as somebody who was, you know, sexually permissive. And needless to say, there were many parents who did not want their teenage daughter perceived that way. At the time, a poll showed that somewhere around, I think it was 80% of those who were polled said that they were not allowed to wear makeup, specifically lipstick, because of what it implied about their character. And I can somewhat understand that. I mean, of course, you want to protect your child. You want to make sure that they're treated with respect and so forth. And it's very different from what it is today. Nowadays, you know, a girl, you know, a teenage girl wearing lipstick would hardly make anyone think twice, but it was very different back then. And I can understand a parent's reluctance to allow their daughter to wear something that, intentionally or not, sends the signal that they are a sexually permissive person. Because there are, then as now, there are people out there who will use that as an excuse to harm them and basically say, well, she was wearing, what lipstick were you wearing? That doesn't excuse what someone may choose to do, but I mean, I'm just saying I can understand why parents would be leery. However, as always, things would change. Now, during World War II, Adolf Hitler was known for despising red lipstick. I mean, he hated it. Visitors to his country retreat, no, female visitors, they were given a list of things that they were not allowed to do. And on that list was, they were to avoid excessive cosmetics, they were to avoid red lipstick, and they were to avoid nail color. And the reason being, he believed that these women, these Aryan women, were so superior to every other woman that it was best to just showcase her natural unenhanced beauty, because it was so phenomenal that, you know, any desire she had to enhance it was misplaced, because she was glorious just as she was, because she was in his mind, after all, part of what he considered the superior race. So why would she need to enhance her perfect appearance with makeup? Well, once word got out that Adolf Hitler hated red lipstick, companies and allied nations began to make red lipstick in shades like Victory Red, which is a shade that was actually reproduced by the cosmetics company Besame Cosmetics. And it became a symbol of anti-fascism and patriotism. So if you've ever looked at like vintage advertisements, or like, you know, the war propaganda, United States war propaganda posters and stuff, and if you've ever wondered why all the women are always wearing red lipstick, well, that's why. It's because they knew that this fascist, murderous dictator didn't like it. So they decided, you know what? That just makes me want to wear it all the more. And wear it they did. Now, by 1950, the wearing of red lipstick had gone mainstream. It wasn't seen as a big deal anymore. In a 1951 survey reported about 2/3 of teen girls wore lipstick on a regular basis, and wearing red lipstick, not only was it not seen as a big deal, but it probably still held a measure of, you know, that feeling of patriotism and loyalty to the United States and so forth with it. I mean, the connotations around red lipstick had completely changed by the 1950s. By the 1960s, lipstick in general was firmly established rather, as a symbol of femininity. So lipstick was no longer taboo. It was no longer considered something that was only for sex workers. It was no longer considered an indication regarding anything about your character. It was just accepted that, you know, this is something women enjoy wearing. It makes them feel oh so pretty. And, you know, marketing lipsticks to women, it was done. It was something that was so common and so mainstream, nobody even thought twice about it anymore. Red lipstick has taken on a symbol of power, and that has taken on a global significance over the years, and it especially began to take hold, you know, in the 1960s and 70s, when the quest for equal rights for women in the United States began to be, you know, take on a more global significance. And I'm going to finish up this because I'm having trouble talking to you and doing both, and I don't want to just keep rambling. And then I'll be back with some final thoughts. So hang on just a second. All right, I'm back. I am wearing the Victory lipstick from Besame Cosmetics, which are not a sponsor of mine. I just like their products, but this is what that amazing red lipstick looks like. Of all my red lipsticks that I have, it's probably one of my favorites. I like the color, it's perfect, and it's also very creamy and keeps my lips soft, and it's just wonderful. So, the global impact of red lipstick, let's talk about that for a second. So, as I mentioned, gradually over time, red lipstick began to be seen as a symbol of power, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. And that remains so even today. So in 2018, well, I'm not going to talk about anything in 2022, but in the 21st century anyway. So in 2018, Nicaraguan men and women wore red lipstick and uploaded photos of themselves to social media to show support for the release of those arrested for anti-government protests. In Chile in 2019, 10,000 women held a demonstration in which they wore blindfolds and wore red lipstick to denounce sexual violence in the country. I think every day in the United States, women, I think that when, you know, at least here, when you see a woman wearing red lipstick, you know she is not there to play. Women that I know anyway tend to wear red lipstick as a way to make a statement, as a way to say, you know, I feel empowered, I feel confident, I am not here to be messed with. And most women that I know who wear red lipstick are women who are not at all afraid to speak their minds, and they wear, you know, the wearing of red lipstick, you know, it remains a bold choice, and it does make you stand out a little bit. And at least from what I've observed, when a woman is wearing red lipstick, you know she is in no mood for your nonsense. That's just that's my observation, and that has been my personal experience. When I'm wearing red lipstick, it's because I am just not in the mood for anyone's nonsense, and you better recognize. So anyway, that was just a brief history of the of red lipstick. Blah, blah, blah. As per usual, I am stumbling over my words. I don't know why this happens, but it does happen, and I apologize for that. I also neglected to point out that I think it was in the 1930s that the lipstick tube as we know it today came to be the swivel lipstick tube. So there it is. There's that beautiful Victory Red. Oh, and there it goes. See, that was a wonderful invention, and these come in the metal tube just like they did originally. During World War II, companies switched to plastic because we had to use metal for the war effort. But that little thing, that change, making it a swivel instead of just being in the tube, putting it in the tube made it portable, which was awesome. But then making it into a swivel, you know, putting it on a swivel like this, oh my goodness, that was, I would imagine, such a game changer. I have used lipsticks that are not on a swivel. It just comes in a tube, and then it gets to the point where you see the lipstick in there, but you can't get any more of it out because it doesn't swivel up, and if you're like me, you don't want to mess with a brush and all that. So thank the cosmetics gods for the swivel. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a little more lighthearted than what I typically do, and I'm going to kind of try to go in that direction more because there are a lot of very serious things happening in the world, and there are a lot of people who are far better qualified than I am to talk about those things, and I think sometimes we all just need videos about inconsequential things that are still of interest and still fun to talk about, because the world is on fire and we need a break now and then. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Please take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. Don't should on yourself or anyone else. And I will see you again very soon. Hopefully. Bye.